The Northman. That's right, folks. Robert Eggers is back, and I've talked about him a few times on the channel. Not a lot, because this wasn't really what I was doing when his films came out, but he's a director who I admire because he makes his passion projects. They are always so distinctively his vision, and that is something I implore when it comes to filmmaking. When you have an idea, reach for the stars with it. Reach for the gates of Valhalla and go all the way through it to make it something special. And with the Northman, you're getting that in some interesting angles here. So his past couple of films, they've all been steeped in like this idea of spirituality and mythology, and they've been really intense. And The Lighthouse was just something that was a beautiful poem. The Witch was just something unique and scary. This was kind of like played off to be the big, barbaric, manly, muscular, just sweaty, pulsating, scary dudes beating the shit out of each other and pouncing on each other at every moment. It is partly that, but the other part is this character study of a guy struggling to avenge his father. And that is just so much of this time. And that works pretty well. I will say, it's not my favorite of his works. If anything, I think it's my least favorite of Robert Eggers' works, but that is not saying anything bad about this film, because the man is one of the few directors who has never had a miss. He's always just hit the mark on everything he did. I don't think this is the exception. He's hitting the mark here, and he's doing something spectacular. There are a few things that kind of hold it back for me from being special. One of the things that kind of just alienated me a little bit was just how focused it became on this one thing, that it kind of lost its vision of that, because it was just so much. We have to do this. Then when it deterred from that, you just feel like, okay, this doesn't feel like it's going to add anything or do anything special for what we're seeing. And that's okay. Some of the sub-stories were a little bit like forced, but it happens. When you focus on the one thing, you could have had a tighter movie. Look, it's over 2 hours, and sometimes I think that's necessary. In this case, if you were to cut out, I think, a little bit of the middle chunk and maybe focus less on certain elements that lead this man to where he gets, you could have a tighter story, and it would be a little more focused. And I think that's just one of the things I would have enjoyed to see. That's not a deterrent at all, because everything else about this film, it hits on every level. The sound mixing and sound editing is amazing. It is so ethereal and orchestrated and powerful and gripping, and it just leaves you on the edge of your seat because it's just loud and in your face and dark and burning and just incredible. The lighting is unique. The way that this film switches into different sets of lighting, whether it's at the edge of a volcano or in the snowy fields of the forest, or just on the edges of water, or in the darkness, when it's in darkness, the way it almost switches to this black and white film where you're seeing like the grays of a man come through, it's really breathtaking. There is nothing out right now, or nothing I can think of previously within this genre, that looks or feels like this. For the genre it's emulating and pretending to be, I shouldn't say pretending, for the genre it's emulating, and it is, it's so unique and beautiful. The cinematography is great, the directing is fantastic, the lighting, the sound, everything is working great. The stunt choreography is so well paced. Like, I cannot believe how beautiful the fighting looks, because when you're doing a fight scene like this, there is a certain element that needs to look chaotic and ruthless. You can't have it just look like it's so choreographed, and that is so hard to do when you have something that is so much about the fighting. When it's so personal and intimate, it's easy to make that look choreographed and staged, but this was just visceral and pounding and angry, and it really hit you. It was so intense and gripping. You feel every sword slash, you feel every time an axe goes into somebody, you feel every shield smashing against a body. It feels great, and it is a really well cast film. Now look, I've said it before, I am not the biggest fan of Nicole Kidman, and I am not the biggest fan of Anya Taylor-Joy. They're two actresses I admire. You do whatever you want. They're not people I actively seek in a role like this. They do good. It's Anya doing her typical stuff when working with Robert, so good for her. Nicole Kidman has somehow elegantly placed herself into the motherly role for every single role she gets now. Like, I will commend her for that. A lot of women in her position wouldn't commit to being the motherly figure in these roles. I just find it amazing that she's the mother to so many people that are closer to her age than you'd expect. That's really weird. Didn't she play Skarsgård was in Big Little Lies, and he was married to Nicole Kidman, wasn't he? Right? That's what happened there. And now she's the mom? Wow, that's intense. And speaking of Skarsgård, look, the guy is a powerhouse. He is built like a brick. He is thick. He is just muscular and veiny and sweaty and just throbbing at every moment. It is such a masculine film in that pseudo-masculine idea where it's just a bunch of dudes sweating it up and punching each other, throwing shit at each other. And that's going to make a lot of people happy because it looks good and it is hyper realistic and intense. It is the perfect blend of things like The Green Knight, which is this like surrealist idea of existence where it's just, hey, what is the point of fighting? What is your mission? What does it all mean? Mixed with 300 where it's like, we're going to catch a spear and chuck it back at you. We're going to scale the sides of, ships and everything. We're going to fight in a volcano. It's just the perfect combination of all those to just emulate this beautiful piece of work. It's long, but it's the good kind of long. It's just intense, and it's going to catch you and just grip you and just throw you in, and it's awesome. And, it is steeped in a kind of mythology for the Norse gods. I don't know how much of that is accurate to the time period. That's not my specialty. But I can tell you, the way it plays with every kind of, intricate person believing in a different god is so fascinating. There's some people that are solely for Odin or Fenrir and all these different gods, and I think that's cool because that's probably the time period, and that's going to divide more people than you think. You pray to this one, it's going to mess you up over here when you go against somebody else. That's a very unique experience that makes for some intense stuff. And I like the fact that it doesn't shy away from the fact that these people believe that, and even if it's real or not, there's the ethereal version of this film where the gods are letting these people play out their wishes and do what they want. And it looks cool. Just like that element, the spiritual element where they are talking to these gods, where their, creatures are coming down to guide them and to help them, and their witches and their doctors are protecting them in these different ways, and they're talking to spirits of old and new. That is a really cool thing that makes this a little extra special. It is just raw and intense and really fascinating. There is literally nothing like it out right now, and currently it's kind of becoming like the talk of Twitter or other sites where it's just, there's so much film out that's just so basic and just clean and sterilized, where it's like you gotta support films that are taking the chances to do that. I would say this is one of those films where it is taking the chance to do something that is not going to be for everybody. And that is a selling point for me. Like, the fact that you can watch this and know that everybody who sees it is going to walk away with a different reaction is super impressive. There's going to be people who this is not for, and that's good. Because this isn't just like some saturated marketable thing. It's just like, no, this is just pseudo-Viking people beating each other up because of the revenge plot, because they're avenging people. It is gripping, it is raw, it is well directed and acted and choreographed, and everything about it is special. It is a special film that I hope we get more of. I talked about The Green Knight last year being this beautiful piece. I like The Green Knight a little bit more solely because The Green Knight's just a little more like a interesting story about what it means to be a man. This is more like, what does anger take you to? How does your life's focus of hate lead to you finding love? And that's a cool story, and it's really intense. But The Green Knight to me is just a little bit better. But this film, there is nothing like it. Skarsgård is a powerhouse. Everybody in it is fantastic. It is going to blow you away by how fascinating it can actually be. And that to me is the sign of something impressive, when you can step back and just be like, wow, that really happened. They really let this happen. They really made this film. As angry and growly as all the men are, it is impressive and unique, and it's definitely worth checking out. So, The Northman, I am going to give an 8 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.